Hello everyone, Auvbri here and welcome back to another speed build in The Sims 4. So this is a speed build that we did from the live stream that we did yesterday, and it is all about terrain manipulation. So we're going to rebuild a build that I did way back in the day, and it was my 4,000 subscriber house building video called the Asian Mountain. So I thought it would be really cool to recreate the build using the new terrain tools and all of the possibilities that we could do, and really recreate the build in the image that I had in my head at that time. So as I said, this was built on a live stream, and if you want to know when my next live stream is, go check me out on Twitter and follow me there. I'm going to be posting when I do live streams, when new content is coming up, when I need the help from you guys to do builds or idea for builds and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely go check me out, link in the description down below. But yeah, what we're watching here is me trying to figure out the terrain editing here, and I did a lot of editing in this video, so there's a lot of stuff that you're just not gonna see me do because it was a very long live stream. It took a little over 3 hours, I believe, for me to do this build, and there was just some stuff that I didn't do in the live stream that I went back myself to like polish little things and details like that. But yeah, the live stream here, it was so much fun. So we started off with doing the two smaller mountainsides here, which we had to connect via bridges. So the new system allows you to create walls at different levels, and that really helped us out when we started creating this build, which meant that we could actually have the main build, which is going to be on the biggest mountain, actually be as big, as grand as I wanted it to be back in the day. Because when I was building the original build, I had a limit of only 4 wall heights, so we have to work around that. But now that limit it's still there, but you can kind of work around it because the terrain helps you actually raise everything up, and the new foundation heights as well. So what we're doing here is just creating another path around the second biggest mountain here, and I wanted this to be a very organic walk from the bridge to the top of this mountain peak, where the next bridge is gonna go, because in the original build I created, instead of it being like this walk beside the mountainside, I created a man-made path, and I wanted it to be just organic and flowing into the mountain instead. And then we're gonna put in fencing in the end to really create that feeling of a real mountainside. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do here. We have the second bridge now, and again, as you can see, I'm all over the place. This is edited from the live stream, so there's just some stuff that you're not gonna see me do. But if you want to see me do it, go and check out the live stream. It was so much fun, and definitely stay tuned to Twitter, where I will be posting when the next live stream is gonna be, because I love doing them. Honestly, they're so much fun, and I love playing around with you guys as well. So yeah, this is the part of the build where we started manipulating the terrain around the two mountains that we had created with the pathways. So I needed the mountains to look somewhat more realistic, so we started manipulating the terrain around the mountainside where we put in the pathway. And the pathway actually took forever to get really right. So you can kind of see there are these guidelines on the terrain, these white guidelines, and when those show up, even if they are slightly white, as far as I know, your sim is not able to walk up them. So they need to be at a perfect slope for your sim to actually be able to use them, which was something we were struggling a lot with in the Sims, or in the live stream here. And again, you can see me going back and testing everything out. We test everything out a lot in this live stream, just to make sure that everything was just fluent. And again here, when I started putting in the mountains, like landscaping beside the mountain path that we had created, she couldn't walk up or down it. But it is working now, and we took one last tour through the eyes of first person when we finished this live stream, and it was really cool. So that's also a new feature that came with the game. So here we're working on the main house, which I would probably call the Asian temple. In my mind, I think of this as a more of a temple build, like a little temple on top of a mountain, more than I think of it as a home. I did do the interior as a home, but the outside was definitely meant as a temple vibe. So yeah, this was part of the stream. I honestly didn't know what I was doing there. I can't remember. It's a really long stream, and I was just like literally came home from work 30 minutes before the stream started, and I was like running around my apartment trying to get everything ready and like clean up a bit so it wasn't so messy. You can kind of see in the background here, or over here. It was a bit messy, so I had a lot of cleaning to do in a very short time and create thumbnails and all that stuff. But we made it and actually started this stream a bit early. But working on the temple here, I took a lot of inspiration from my previous builds and from Google as well. I also took some inspiration from fellow sim builders. I can't remember who, somebody pointed this out to me in the stream, who it was, but I saw somebody do an Asian temple build as well, and it looks so good. So I was trying to incorporate all of those things into my own build here. You guys helped out a lot with the overall style of it, and we chose red and gold. I went back in and made it a bit more extravagant and really trying to emphasize those colors, and I made the temple look a bit more grand. I did have to change some of the windows that we chose just because I was not happy about the way that it looked going back into the builds. So I decided to go with another color. We also changed the wallpaper for the outside here to something a bit more spectacular. So there's this wallpaper in the what was it, Vampires game pack, where when you are just at the right angle, it kind of shimmers these little shapes in the wallpaper of a brighter color, and I loved that, so I decided to incorporate that as well, and I thought it looked so good. We're also going to add a second height to the tower in the middle just to make it look so much more grand, and it turned out so good in the end. But yeah, working on details, that was something I actually figured out afterwards. A lot of details have to go into, excuse me, my cat here. A lot of details have to go into these builds. There's just so many small fine details in an Asian temple like this, and I wanted to incorporate everything I could to make it look as authentic as possible. So that's why I went back in, changed some stuff, added a green trim color just to make it pop a bit more, and I thought it looked super good with the very dark red. It's still gonna be a very dark red temple. I just decided to go with another wallpaper that was just a bit more extravagant and temple-like. But we added these green railings. I'm going to go back in and change the as I said, windows throughout this build. Not that they weren't pretty, and I love those windows. They just after going back, they did not look right to me, so I changed them. We add a lot of detailing on the outside as well, which you're gonna see me do later. And this is where, at that point in time, I said to you guys that was something I just had to go back in and do for myself. I had, sometimes when I do builds, it actually takes me a couple of days to go through a build, because I have this mindset that I need a fresh pair of eyes when something is just not right about a build. And I know that a lot of you guys can actually relate to that. You can see Zoe in the background. I know that a lot of you guys can relate to that, having just to leave a build for a second and go back and look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. And that's what I decided to do here. I needed to look at it from another angle. But the help from you guys was really appreciated, and I think that we made something truly amazing. And a lot of you guys, especially a lot of the people joining the stream, didn't actually know this build, because it is a build that is very old, like old in quotation signs. It is almost 2.5, 3 years old at this point, and it's from a very, very early days in YouTube. But I just had to remake it. As soon as I saw that the terrain tools were gonna be a thing in The Sims 4, I knew that I had to use them to recreate this build. It was just too good. So here is a part of the build where we had to manipulate and cheat the game a bit. So because this second bridge is actually on the highest level it can be, there was no room for roofing pieces. So what I did, because that bridge and the temple itself was actually on the same height due to the terrain editing, so what I did was just create a roof piece that went from the temple and pulled it all over the bridge, and then like away from the temple, so it just looked like it was just the roofing piece for the bridge. The bridge is another thing that I'm gonna go back to and do a lot of detailing on it. Again, I needed to go back into my old build and see what I did with those. And when I did that build, we didn't have a lot of items in the game. It was still a relatively new game, and expansion packs were few, game packs were few, but in this build we have so many items that was just so perfect for an Asian inspired build. So that's something you're gonna see me do. I went back into the game and used all of these items I couldn't before, used a lot of the items I did in the original build as well, because they fit so well with the theme of what I was trying to do. And then in the stream it was suggested that I did a waterfall on this side of the mountain here, going from the temple, and I loved that idea. So that's what we're gonna create as well with that little pool. I think it looks really good in the end. As you could probably tell from the intro, it just made everything look so much better. And there's just something about waterfalls. I really wish that we had the pond tool available now, but the Sims team has said that they are definitely thinking about adding that in the future for a future update. So I'm crossing my fingers here that we're gonna get that soon, because that would just be the world. We're still using pools here, and we still have to manipulate the terrain and use a lot of trickery to make it look like a river, but I think in the end it turned out so good. And the watercolor here, we're gonna use a lot of plants from the Jungle Adventures game pack, which just again fits so perfectly. We have a lot of cherry trees now that we didn't have in the original build as well. So I just think that the whole thing just came together so good, and yeah, I really enjoyed how it turned out. So this is a part of the stream where we are nearing an end. This was the last thing I wanted to do in the stream, was to kind of dress up the place. So we decided to put in tons of plants, like these hanging ivy fern things, and really dress up the place, because at the moment it just looks a bit bare, you know. It doesn't look like anything special, but once we start adding all of the plants and smaller details that I did myself, I really think that this build came together really well. So I wanted to have these hanging plants from underneath the bridge, just to give it that really exciting look from the front side. And I just think it looks so cool in the end, like having all of these hanging plants, the mountainside. And that's just a little side note, we are not able to, for some reason, paint the mountainside. So the terrain that is being raised up can only be that color that you see, which is a bit weird. I don't know why they did that as a design choice, but I really hope they fix it in the future, because I mean, it looks okay, but I would have loved to have a bit more of a mountain-esque look, or maybe just be able to paint some of the mountain peaks another color, so they just look like they were a bit more rough around the edges, you know, to have like a gradient color of a darker to a lighter color. That would have been nice, but it's okay the way it is, and I hope it's just something that they're gonna add in the future. So yeah, starting to dress here, and as you can see, the plants are really starting to help with the overall space here. And this is where somebody told me that we weren't able to color in that path, and that's, I don't know why they did that. It's just it's a little strange to me, but again, I can kind of see why they did that. I mean, I'm just happy that we have terrain manipulation now, because I've been waiting for that for so long. And as you guys know, I have a folder on my desk top computer here on my computer, just marked houses that I want to build, but I couldn't because we didn't have terrain manipulation. There's only so much you can do with basement tools, you know, which I have been using a lot. I'm not gonna lie about that, but there's just so much only so much you can do with that. And yeah, now that we finally have terrain manipulation tools, whatever you want to call it, we can finally start doing some truly amazing builds. Speaking of amazing builds, in the live stream we were greeted by the lovely Fry from Simproved, which I have been talking to for a while about doing a collaboration build. I'm not gonna say what we're gonna do, it's still a secret, but we are in conversation about what we should do. And she's gonna make the first move and then give it to me, and it's gonna be really awesome. I've been waiting for so long to collaborate with her. I'm also in in talks with some other people, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, here we can kind of see the wallpaper, and you can see at certain angles it has like this little shine to it, which I love. It just looks so good, and it really does fit the vibe of the overall temple here. And as you can see, we added another tower. We did a lot more detailing on the roof as well, and I'm gonna do some detailing in the front here. I just put in some columns which we actually removed in the live stream because people thought they looked stupid, but I had an idea for it and I wanted to incorporate it here as well. So we kind of put in these shader looking things, which I thought looked kind of Asian as well and really fits the overall vibe. And as you can see on the bridge side, we also have a lot more detailing now, and the whole place is just starting to come together. So the last thing that we're gonna do in this build is actually do the interior of the house. So the majority of this build is just the exterior and the landscaping, and that just took so long, but I think it is truly worth it in the end. And just the bridges and the way that everything just came together, and especially with the jungle adventures plants and the cherry trees, everything just fits so together. So I'm overall super happy about the result, and I hope that you guys will share it on Twitter with everybody that you know and retweet it and all that stuff, because we put so much effort into this and I think it really shows. And this, I have to say, is probably the best that I can do. This is what I would show off is if I were to show what kind of builds I can do. So I really do think that this is one of my better builds, especially with the terrain manipulation. It just turned out so much better than I could have hoped. Going inside here, so I wanted to have the front entrance be kind of like temple-like. So I decided to create like not this mural, but more of a art piece decoration. Right when you walk in, we have some lighting in the behind it. We're gonna put some candles on the floor. That's one thing I actually thought about putting in into the build afterwards. That was like, you know, these little lantern things that we can get in the game. They're like white, but I thought we have so much stuff on this lot already, like literally 1,000 plants or something just for the landscaping, and then comes in all the other decorative items, and I wanted at least you guys to be able to play with it. I know somebody actually asked me in the stream, how can you play this? Why is this not lagging? I have a really good computer which I built myself, and that's the reason why it didn't lag for me, but I can see why it would for some people. It is a very huge build, and there is a lot of items on this lot, like a crazy amount. I mean, just look at the roofing or the wall here, just with the amount of details I put into this build alone. The temple alone, not counting the rest of the build. So I just wanted not to push it too far, but it would have looked great with those lanterns, I'm not gonna lie, and I really thought about putting them in, but I just decided not to, just to kind of keep it at least playable for most people. So but yeah, this house here is just the most basic I could do. I wanted to keep the Asian vibe alive, and kind of represented in the interior aspect of the build, but I didn't want to push it too far. So we also put in some modern elements here and there, and of course a kitchen, the living room here, but I made it all, or not living room, bedroom, but I made it all open spaced, so there's no actual doors in the build. And for the screen here to the bathroom, I decided to use a screen to just, again, keep it open but still separated. And that was just kind of the thing I was going for here. With the overall vibe. So here we have the entrance to the temple from the bridge, and I think it looks really good. I'm so happy about how this turned out. Again, I used the wallpaper from the outside inside here as well, and you can kind of see in the background there that it has like this shimmering light to it, and then it disappears from other angles, and I loved that. So remember, if you want to get this build, it is on the gallery right now. Just search my origin ID, which is Auvbri, and you should be able to find every single build that I have done. Follow me on Twitter. That is the best way for you guys to know when I'm live streaming, what I'm up to, and get in touch with me. Suggest houses to me that you want to get built. I already have an idea for the next house that I'm gonna do, so definitely stay tuned for that. I will be leaving small hints on Twitter here and there, yeah. Also, thank you to everybody who joined me on the live stream. It was really awesome and I had the most amazing time. But go download the house, share it on Twitter, and tell me what you thought about it in the comment section down below. I really want to know. Let's start a conversation. And as we watch the last screenshots here, I just want to say thank you for subscribing and thank you for liking the video. And yeah, there's nothing else for me to say other than have a truly fantastic day wherever you are in the world. And I will see you next time for another video. Bye!